Small and medium enterprises, SMEs, are known to be the key drivers of every economy. And it was with the understanding of that reality that Fidelity Bank PLC hosted a fund fair that connects funders to founders. The fund fair, themed Entrepreneurship Meets Capital, was held on Wednesday, the 7th of August 2019 at the Landmark Event Center, Oniru, Lagos, with the aim to support MSMEs by bridging the funding gap in the sector and connecting existing businesses with local and international fund providers by drawing a widespread attention to the plight of MSMEs in Nigeria. The conference is expected to hold in Port Harcourt and Kano before the end of the year and at designated times in 2020. In attendance were Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Dr. Obafemi Hamzat, the Managing Director and CEO Fidelity Bank PLC, Mr. Nnamdi Okonkwo, and other distinguished stakeholders in the financial sector. The event commenced with the welcome remarks of the Managing Director and CEO Fidelity Bank PLC, Mr. Nnamdi Okonkwo.
I joined Fidelity Bank in 2012 and inherited this culture. But I also promised that we will work hard with my team to leave the bank much better than we met it. Therefore, everything we do today is guided by that desire. And that's why we decided to structure SME in a different format. When the Central Bank of Nigeria started the 220 billion SME fund and the BOI fund, Fidelity was one of the first people to assess it. And we've had people come on our show to testify how today they are big corporates on account of making funding available.
After which His Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Dr. Obafemi Hamzat, delivered his keynote address.
But we also know that many good ideas have died because they lack funding. So access to capital, or more importantly, the lack of access to capital, is arguably the biggest threat to entrepreneurs around the world. That's why program like this that Fidelity is doing is so important. And I think we should just give them a round of applause. So as we know, cash fund is essential to any business or any human being, but most especially to SMEs, because most of the time they don't have the collaterals that the banking industry would require, and also because they cannot survive on the percentage of interest that most other businesses will require. It is therefore important that programs like this that assist entrepreneurs to access capital be more prevalent. This program also highlights the fact that entrepreneurs need to have a clearly defined path in order to succeed. I think this program again allows us to understand that there are no shortcuts to successes. You just have to do the right thing.
This was followed by the first general panel of discussion, and the panel was made up of the Director, Development Finance of the CBN, Mr. Mudashiru Olaito, the Executive Director, Micro Enterprises Directorate, Bank of Industry, Mr. Toyin Adeniji, Chief Operating Officer, DBN, Bonaventure Okaimo, Professor Yinka David West, the founder and CEO, Biloxi Industries Limited, Obi Ezelde, and Vice President, Capital Alliance, Bumi Adeoye. The next session, which focused on funding for business, looked at how entrepreneurs can attract investors to their businesses and know the type of investors to meet that would be appropriate for their businesses. The founder and CEO, Ebony Live TV, Mo Abudu, said funding businesses mostly depends on the scope and skills of the business, as well as proper documentation of the whole business plan.
Before you can get anyone to invest in your business, really big or small, is that you're going to have to document the vision, the mission, the marketing plan, how you're going to monetize the revenue streams, your break even, what collateral are you bringing into that business? Because I think often, as entrepreneurs, we're very passionate about the business that we want to set up, that we often forget that we need to tick several boxes in making sure that that business actually does make sense, because everybody has a great idea that we all believe is going to make tons and tons and millions of money, but really and truly, how have we tested it? Have we seen what's in the marketplace already? What's the competitive advantage of our particular product against another product? And these are all the types of questions that we need to ask ourselves before we even begin to ask anyone about how you're going to fund. And funding can be from family, can be from friends, can be from a bank, it can be private equity. There's so many different ways in which you can fund your business.
She, Akindelege, the founder, Cretin, also noted that the potentials of a good business plan can attract foreign or local investors. While Shinwa Bolaji, the co-founder, Wilson Juice, said the uniqueness of a product can lure investors to a business.
I think it's the potential that we have as a nation. Number one is we have the raw materials to produce the fish feed that we import from France. We have the soya here locally, which a lot of farmers in the north are growing. We have the maize. We have the cassava flour. Those are some of the raw materials that we use for the production of the fish feed. And we also have a lot of people that are ready to start growing fish. It is good when we see the fish that we've grown in Nigeria and we are being fed with it, rather than the ones that we import from China.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so that is very good. Yeah.
It's been a lot of bootstrapping, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of team members that believe in the business. So as far as getting capital, we haven't borrowed capital from a bank yet. No private equity. Just one or two individuals that said, I believe in what you guys are doing. So we'll call them venture capitalists. And one of them is the chairman of our board. So we haven't really delved into borrowing money like that.
Okay.
So if you see our drinks everywhere, you see our drinks, we don't believe it's everywhere. It's a very competitive space.
Very, very. Tell me about it.
Competitive space.
Yeah.
But we believe that we have something to offer that's quite different from everything that's on the market. And we can see our business growing because of that.
This was immediately followed by the question and answer session. The last panel discussion was made up of Danladi Vejan, the Managing Director of Verod Capital, Mizwo Onili, the Managing Partner, Shell Capital Ventures, Mr. Dakwa Kimpelu, Vice President, Renaissance Capital, Bumi Akinyemiju, CEO Venture Garden Group, and Victoria Fabumi, Investment Manager, GC Fund and CC Hub. They all agreed that visibility of earning, management structure and credibility of the business plan are what investors look out for when they intend to fund a business. They also noted that entrepreneurs should always consider the fact that not all businesses need capital from banks, and by identifying the type of capital needed, it enables them know the investors to approach to invest in their businesses.
You have the right distribution and the way of getting your product or service to the market. So that's just sort of one in terms of the market and the quality of the business. The second thing that's equally important, if not even more, is the quality of management. And like you heard previously, ideas are a dime a dozen, right? Many people have great ideas. The key difference is actually execution. Can you actually build that business? Can you actually, develop the right strategy, put in the right efforts? Do you have the right networks, make sure your business succeeds? Do you have the ability to ensure that your business beats every other business around?
It's important to understand, sort of, even from the founder's perspective and from the business perspective, what type of capital is required. So the first step is figuring what type of capital do you need. From the previous panel, you could see that the different businesses had different routes in terms of how they've grown and what type of capital and where they went to raise it. What that tells you is not all types of capital are fit for your business. So for example, if you're doing a business that you're still experimenting, things are still very fluid, and you go to a bank, to raise debt. We are almost confining that business to death because, you know, for a bank, the interest and principal and repayments you have to make irrespective of how the business is doing. So the first step in that process is figuring out with the business what type of capital do you need at this point in time.
So when you're pitching your idea to an incubation or a hub, what you need to understand at that point in time, it's only you, right? They will do perhaps a background check on what you've done before, and that's very important. We try to skip to the point of, oh, the investors we should talk to. At the point of your idea or at the point of pitching your minimum viable product or whatever you have, assess yourself. Say, if I go to this incubation, if I go to this investor, would they be willing to give me money? That's one. If you find out at that particular point in time you haven't built enough of yourself, perhaps you should take time to do that before approaching the incubations or the hubs.
This was followed by another round of question and answer session. Later on, a documentary was shown to guests. The documentary focused on grants pre-qualification and elimination rounds, which showcased a boot camp where 50 participants were trained in business proposal writing, out of which 12 were selected from the rigorous exercise. The 12 participants were presented with certificates of participation by the Managing Director and CEO Fidelity Bank PLC, Mr. Nnamdi Okonkwo, and they were rewarded with 200,000 naira each. After careful and meticulous screening of the business pitches of the 12 participants, 5 were selected and asked to make a final pitch that culminated in the emergence of the final 3 winners. The third runner-up, Nele Agbogo, went home with 1 million naira in grants. The second runner-up, Miriam Lawani, also went home with 1 million naira in grants, while Yetunde Ayo, the founder, market doctor, was declared the winner out of the 2,900 contestants. He went home with a sum of 2 million naira in grant, which was presented by the Managing Director and CEO Fidelity Bank PLC, Mr. Nnamdi Okonkwo, supported by the Non-Executive Director, Fidelity Bank PLC, Mr. Chidi Agbapu. The last 2 participants were not left out, as they were rewarded with 500,000 naira each. The event was brought to an end with a vote of thanks delivered by the Executive Director, Shared Service and Products, Fidelity Bank PLC, Mrs. Chijoke Ogochukwu. From Biscon Communications, we congratulate Fidelity Bank PLC on the successful hosting of the Lagos edition of the Fidelity Funding Connect.